I think it's pretty safe to say that by far, one of the big exciting elements of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker has all to do with the interactions between both Rey and Kylo Ren, and exactly how that's going to be executed on the big screen by director J.J. Abrams. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, what's really exciting about Episode 9 is that we do know that this movie is of course going to deliver all of these different twists and turns that will be used for the characters of Rey, Kylo, Luke, Palpatine, you name it. That's really going to change our view of not just the prequels and the originals, but other pieces of Star Wars lore that is actually considered canon under both Disney and Lucasfilm, as well as adding in brand new lore to the current canon material in the form of Jedi, Sith, and Force lore. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and all thanks to D23 and Good Morning America, we got to learn a lot more about this movie, where the cast and crew were actually able to answer many of the burning questions that fans have been really wondering about for a very long time, and we're able to ask, JJ, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, you name it. And this is what Daisy Ridley had to say and her reaction about the ending of The Rise of Skywalker. Now, Daisy states that The Rise of Skywalker ending takes many risks and creates big challenges for the main characters, and that it is very emotional and made her cry. Additionally, Daisy said that the ending of the film won't be as controversial to fans, for example, Game of Thrones ending of Season 8. She actually mentioned Game of Thrones. And that there will be a sense of both closure and ambiguity for the fans. Daisy states that the final frames of the film are simply unpredictable, and that she cannot wait for fans to see. Additionally, she says that parts of the original script by Trevorrow made it into the ending of the film. So let's go over a couple of parts about this and as to why I'm very excited about this. Now, number one is that, of course, it's going to be a mixture of closure and ambiguity. Now, what does that really mean? Well, let's throw in an example here. Now, that could very well mean that both, Rey and Kylo Ren are going to end up being together, or Kylo Ren turns to the light side of the Force and is a good man once again. That could be the closure. The ambiguity part could very well be something around the lines of Rey and Kylo Ren starting a new order, where, let's say, for example, we do get to see what the new order looks like, but we're not going to be able to see what their lives are going to be like for decades on forward. That could be the ambiguity part, right? So that's a great example of mixing closure and ambiguity in The Rise of Skywalker, as Daisy states that this movie is also going to be very emotional toward the end, and that it made her cry. Even parts of Trevorrow's script made its way into the very end, the final frames of this movie, which is great, because in case you guys did not know, Colin Trevorrow was the original writer and director of Episode 9 before he was fired by Disney, Lucasfilm, and of course President of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy. That's when they had to bring in J.J. Abrams, and that's when J.J. said he needed a co-writer. That, of course, being Chris Terrio. And later on, during rewrites, is when George Lucas came on board as a creator, and of course, adding in some scenes there. So this movie does have a lot going for it, and from what Daisy explains is that it's not going to be as controversial as the very ending of Game of Thrones Season 8, which is also good, because a lot of fans seem to have reacted to that ending in a very negative sense, because of how David Benioff and D.B. Weiss handled the series. Now, of course, that's going to lead a lot of people to feeling a little mixed about whether or not they're the best choice for the new Star Wars trilogy, also known as the fourth trilogy throughout the 2020s. However, it's a different franchise, and I'm going to still cross my fingers that the new trilogy will still end up being very good. Now, past all of this, I will say that The Rise of Skywalker ending seems like it's going to be a very emotional one, since it actually made Daisy Ridley cry. It's not going to be as controversial, and it is going to have closure and ambiguity at the same exact time. So that, to me, is a very interesting side by JJ and what he's really trying to do. The fact that it's also going to take many different risks at the very end of Episode 9 while also creating challenges for those characters, I'm not quite sure what that really means. That could very well have something to do with Rey and Kylo Ren and where they stand, and how, let's say for the example here, the Resistance is going to view them, or how the First Order is going to view Kylo Ren. That could very well be the challenge for the two. That's a big possibility. So, Episode 9, like I say, I cannot wait to see what this movie is going to look like. It really is something that was 30 years in the making, even more than that. Of course, not back then, but speaking generally, it is something that has been pretty much been a thing that George Lucas actually wanted to create. He wanted to create a sequel trilogy. He didn't really get to create his version of it, but Disney and Lucasfilm were able to create 7, 8, and 9, and George was heavily involved with Episode 9 at the very least. So we are going to have elements of, what was in the works for 30 plus years, even more, by George in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, since, parts of his vision are going to be a part of the storytelling in Episode 9. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.